everyone. My name is Sandra, and thank you so much for tuning in. All right, y'all. Today, we are going to get deep. Abba and Preach reacted to this woman's video discussing her experience being friendless. I'm not gonna lie, some of the things she said had your girl in her feelings. Let's get into it.
It's Saturday, and I'm sitting alone in my apartment at my desk staring at my computer. Like 99.999% of every other Saturday. And I went to get a pizza because I still don't know how to eat right. And, you know, Dartmouth is graduated or graduating, and this always happens when I drive in on the weekend to get my unhealthy food that I eat alone in my apartment, and I see all of them holding hands, walking down to the river to swim, sitting out on the green with friends, or going back to their dorm so they can probably do stuff later because it's a Saturday. And I get my pizza, and I go back to my apartment because I don't have any friends.
Growing up and during different parts of my adult life, that was also my reality. I would see everyone bonding and creating memories, and there I was, never being invited places, feeling isolated, and thinking there was something wrong with me. Seeing other people hanging out and posting about their best friends really intensifies that feeling of loneliness and isolation.
And honestly, I don't think I've ever had friends, not like real friends. I mean, obviously I had like friends in high school and college, but it was the most superficial level. If I was in class, I would have people to talk to. People liked me. I don't think I was a totally unlikable person. And I would do after school activities and people would talk to me, and I had people that I was close to. But we never did anything besides that.
That was literally my middle school and high school experience. I always found it odd that people liked me during school and at like speech tournaments and speech practice, but never reached out to me. If I was fun to be around during school and speech, why didn't my peers invite me to chill with them outside of school?
I never did anything after school in high school. If I did, it was rare. Like the times, like prom, Mom had to ask a friend's son to ask me, and then he left early with another girl, which at the time I thought was hilarious. Because I could tell a story to my friends, and maybe that would be interesting. I'll see him on Instagram, but we've never hung out with any of my friends from high school. Same thing with college. I mean, it started senior year, but, you know, like, the second people started doing stuff on the weekends, I was always alone in my dorm room, watching all the other kids walk to the parties.
People who never experience loneliness do not understand how crippling that feeling can be. I remember one day when I was working at Portillo's, I had to have been about like 19 or 20. I started crying to myself because the isolation really set in, and I got caught in that loop of asking what was wrong with me. I was closing down the custard bar with tears running down my face. Those intrusive thoughts can sneak up on you at any time. I also tried to rationalize my loneliness as well. I'd say things like, I enjoy being alone and that I valued my me time. But that really wasn't entirely true until I got into like my mid-20s. Even then, I still felt some type of way about my lack of close friendships.
I've never had a friend that I would just spend time with and tell everything to. I really thought I got close with Caitlin and Molly and Katrina and Aaron. And it's been 2 years. I haven't made a single friend. And there was a girl I met on Bumble, but I never went anywhere and she moved. And you know what? It's my fault. Because, you know, I complain about not having anyone, but the minute anyone does come to my life and I have a chance, I do nothing with it. She invited me over to her apartment. We ate. I could have talked to her, but every time she texted me, I would wait like a day to respond. And when we made plans, I would always feel awkward about it because all I wanted to do was be back in my apartment.
Y'all, she is killing me softly right now. Until I saw this video, it never occurred to me that my previous loneliness was my own fault. I expected others to do the work of inviting me out or reaching out to me. But friendship and communication are two-way streets. In my mid to late 20s, I too would bail out on opportunities to go and meet people just so I could stay in my apartment or at my parents' house alone. From the late replies to rejecting invitations, the loneliness I felt in my mid to late 20s was my own fault. Even the loneliness I felt in middle school and high school may have been avoided if I just reached out first.
And I think one thing I learned over time is like these relationships take time and effort. And much like relationships with intimate partner, people often think that their friendships are just supposed to happen. But the reality is they require effort. They require time, they require presence, they require intentionality. And a lot of people take that stuff for granted. And so when they're not able to foster these kinds of relationships, it's like, it doesn't really happen. You know, sometimes people don't have friends. It's like, well, how many times have you shown up to their special events? How many times have you guys reached up to spend time offline? How many times have they messaged you and you've really messaged in a timely manner, or you've reached out to them? And vice versa. It has to be mutual too, obviously. Can't be one-sided, because then you just feel neglected as you're putting effort to somebody who doesn't. So I love the fact that she acknowledges that she's had opportunities, but she let them slip through her hands, and it's caused a lot of her suffering. Not so I go, oh, it's your fault. But it's like, if you understand the way you contribute, there's ways in which you can find remedies to that. So the self-awareness is, I think, what I'm appreciating about this, because too many people get online and complain about these issues, or they vent about these issues in a valid way, but then they don't really self-assess and see the ways in which they're destructive to their own outcomes that they want.
Sometimes the truth is hard to hear. I think most people lean into victimhood to avoid accountability. If I'm being completely honest with myself, I was lazy and didn't put the effort into reaching out, inviting others places, etc. My loneliness was my own fault.
By the way, friends is a term that is used too vaguely.
True.
It's too much. Some of the people that you call friends are not friends. Okay, you have to make the difference between an acquaintance, a job person that you know, someone that you, a colleague. There's a difference between friend, colleague, acquaintances. And there's a lot of people that I know that's like, oh, that's my friend. I can't believe it did. Why? Because it's my friend? Well, if you think about it, you just know that bitch from work.
That's why I say that I've struggled with having friendships. Sure, there were people from work and school I was cool with, but would I call them if I was going through something? Probably not. The whole issue is that people need deeper connections. Superficial interactions don't fulfill our need for community and understanding. Before we continue, don't forget to hit that like button and become a Fae by subscribing to the channel.
What the fuck is wrong with me that I complain about this and then I make no effort to try to change it? I mean, ever since I started applying to grad school, I gave up on trying to make friends here. And it's noticeable. My landlord, Elaine, keeps commenting on how all of her past tenants do things on the weekends, basically calling me like a friendless loser, which is true, but like, to hear her just say that to me was really hard.
I think most people struggle with changing behaviors to get the outcomes that they want. You see it a lot with people who want to lose weight, save money, etc. It could be a symptom of procrastination, or some folks just need to hit rock bottom before they start taking their desires for a better life more seriously. Also, I'm pretty sure her landlord didn't mean it like that. If you already feel some type of way about yourself, you will assume everyone else sees you the same way.
We all appreciate a tenant who doesn't.
Do you know as a landlord how it is to have people? You notice when people are messy, or when they give you back the apartment and you go in that bitch and you're like,
how is there shit on the ceiling? But maybe this landlord's different. He's like, yo, you ain't got no friends, loser.
Maybe.
That's a crazy. That's a crazy landlord.
If your landlord really is talking to you crazy like that, I think you should move.
Everyone tells me I'm young and I have time, but it's still hard. So gross. I'm sorry. I knew I was emotional. I didn't think I'd cry like this. don't know what's wrong with me. That I can't make it work. That I'm just lazy when it comes to making friends. I just want it to be easy, you know?
From the outside looking in, maintaining friendships seems easy, but it takes effort. How can we expect to have friends if we are constantly bailing when we get the opportunity to hang out?
So, see, that's the operative word. You want it to be easy. Because, like, for a lot of people who maintain friendships very seamlessly, it's because they've been doing it for so long, so it's easy to them. It's kind of like going to the gym. Some people find it very difficult to go, and others it's super easy. But they've also made it part of their routine, so they've adapted to their schedule and their time environment and made the commitment. But it is an effort, even for the people who it's easy to go to the gym. They're just used to doing it. For a lot of people, they think friendships is supposed to happen. That's not the way it works. At least, like, even family relationships, they require effort. If you don't reply to your family, if you don't show up, if you don't make an effort to respond, like, a lot of families will stop being that close. Same thing with relationships. Like, none of these things are different. So me hearing her language, I understand what she's wanting. But what she's wanting is not gained the way she wants it. She knows the problem. She's just not ready to take the steps. And she wants it to be easy because she wants the benefit of a friendship, but the labor that's involved and the actual work she's not ready to do.
And that's facts. Getting what you want takes effort, commitment, and discipline. At a certain point, you have to decide if you just want to wallow in your own self-pity or actually put in the effort and the work to get what you want out of life.
And it's been hard, especially with mom and dad, because before I would just talk to them because I had no one else. But now with all the divorce stuff, there's stuff I can't talk to them about, and I have no one, and Travis and Kyle are too emotional, and I can't talk to anyone. I just look at myself and I don't know. I'm wasting all these days. I just feel so lonely. I'm just so lonely all the time. But I'm also terrified of it, and I also want to be alone. Like, maybe I'm just meant to be alone?
No.
If we were meant to be alone, then loneliness wouldn't feel so heart-wrenching.
No, I think your video is obviously a cry for help. I don't think you're meant to be alone.
But you gotta put the effort.
I think, listen, this is something that's becoming more and more common for us nowadays. As we live online more, we spend more times on our phones, less times outside, less time engaging in real life activities. It's harder for people to build those kinds of connections, you know, where you used to do certain stuff, you go to the park, everyone go to the same spots. Now we're so online that we're, you know, having friends in Budapest while we live in Hungary or we live in Siberia or whatever it might be. Like, just people have friends all over, and it's like made in-person friendships a lot more difficult. One, two, it's also just made people have a harder time connecting with people in a very powerful way. Because I think friendships generally get deeper and stronger as you're able to share things with people, go through things with them. Sometimes you fall out, you fall back in, but you need to have things that tie you together. And nowadays we just have everything, all the tools at our disposal to disconnect rather than make it super easy to connect.
When I moved to Hangzhou, I didn't have any friends in the city. My coworkers were cool, but part of me had already checked out and wanted to move back to the States. So that I wouldn't go crazy, I started being more active online and building friendships there. There is a comfort in making connections that don't require you to make real commitments, like going out or meeting up. Now, I will argue that meaningful friendships and relationships can develop online. I mean, as most of y'all know, Justin and I met online and now we have a beautiful daughter together. It's so interesting how the easier and more accessible communication gets, the more isolated we become. Those of us who experience loneliness, it's time to put down the tiny violins and make more of an effort to meet people and build relationships. We have to stop standing in our own way and put in the work to get what we want. It may feel like you're alone in this world, but every time you step out of your comfort zone and try to make connections, there's a possibility that you will meet the friend you've been longing for your whole life. Thank you for watching. Until next time.